Can you remember the day that you heard that you were dropped, and how did that feel?
It was a Wednesday, and it was, I guess, maybe it's like the second week in September, third week in September 2006. And I remember because it was a certain day, this cut-off point, where we were waiting around for them to tell us whether or not they were going to keep us. So, you know, you would expect us to be kind of like, please keep us. We just want, please give us some more money and let us make another album on your wonderful record label. But actually what we was thinking was like, please drop us. At least then we stand a chance, you know. And luckily for us, through political reasons, the label in question couldn't afford to keep us. So they asked us to reduce the amount of money for the advance, and we refused that. You know, we weren't accommodating to them at all. And then it came to the certain day, they didn't ring us, didn't ring our management. And then the next morning, our management got a phone call from someone at Warner's saying, we forgot the deadline. It was meant to be yesterday, but it slipped our minds, so they weren't even thinking about it. Here we were, you know, like a big thing, life-changing thing. They weren't even on it, you know what I mean? They weren't even.
Yeah.
So the next day they said, can we have 2 more weeks to think about it? And we refused them, said no. And that was the end of the contract. And then, you know, that was essentially how we got dropped.
Yeah, so you forced it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like, you know, it was just like getting a divorce from someone or something, you know. It's just like, it's not working out for either of us.
Yeah.
Let's both dig our heels in and see what we get.
Let's see who can be the most obstinate. But, you know, like the record label were kind of ringing me up and saying things like, so have you got any new songs at the minute? And I did have, you know, I had like Beginning of the Twist and a few others from the album. And
they wanted a new single or something.
And they were like, have you got any singles? And I was like, nah, I haven't got any.
I remember like before the second album even came out, I got a phone call from the A&R guy at the label just saying like, you know, keep quiet a bit, but are there any more songs? Are there any more songs? We're not sure that we have a single on this album. Just think like, oh, come on. It needs to be more organised than this.
Yeah, you know, like they really let us down with regards to the making of the second album, because they didn't do their job, which is to A&R it. You know, like A&R people actually do serve a purpose. They don't just come to gigs and get drunk. They're supposed to, their function is to be a part of the creative process and to have an opinion on this song needs to be shorter, longer, whatever. But there was none of that. And the result of that, we have it was un-A&R'd.
Okay.
In a sea of albums that are A&R'd to hell. You know, like every song, you know, everything is A&R'd.
Yeah.
And we were just like, we thought, you know, we took it as a compliment when they showed really a very small amount of interest in what we're doing. Yeah. They said, oh, just go and make it, you'll be fine.
It looks like creative freedom, but it was
kind of like
it is lack of interest or something.
Yeah, because it was creative freedom, but only to the extent that when it didn't bring the hits or bring the sales in, then all of a sudden they were like, oh, you've kind of like almost like we'd killed it for ourselves. You know, it's like we give you the rope and you hung yourself, so that won't happen again. So I think if they had kept us on and we had made a third album on 679, then they would have just been all over it.
It would have been horrible.
Yeah, they would have just had their little mucky fingers over every song,
every step,
and it wouldn't have been our own record in the end.
It would have split us up if we hadn't have got dropped.
Yeah.